Okay. Well, Dwayne, you know, Dwayne, he died. Maybe, we're good. Well, here's the only thing you gotta worry about, it's your chair, it's it. I know that. You're the one that's affected by it.
It'll rub a red spot on your neck.
I call, being since we have nothing on the Board of Zoning Appeals, we'll move straight into the Jefferson County Regional Planning Commission meeting. I call the meeting to order. If you would, I'd like to open this with a word of prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you just thanking you for the day you blessed us with, thanking you for the health, the ability, dear God, the strength to get out and go and do and live our lives. And I pray, Lord, that you're pleased with how we've gone about living so far. And as we come together tonight as a planning commission, I just pray that you would guide our thoughts, dear God, our words, and help us to make good decisions when it comes to affecting this county, dear God, and the citizens thereof. Dear God, I just pray you be with the folks that are sick in our community, dear God. I ask that you would let healing come to them if it be your will. Dear God, I pray for the lost tonight. It tells us in your word that our time here on earth is short. But our time in eternity, dear God, that's forever. And I pray, dear God, you help us not to take that lightly as we move throughout the rest of it. Help us to take it into consideration. Forgive us, Lord, what we failed. Lead us and guide us. I ask these things and give you thanks for Christ Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.
The second pledge. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I trust that the planning commission received their packets and had a chance to look at those and read the minutes from last month. Do we have any additions or corrections to those? Motion on the floor to accept the minutes. Do we have a second? Have a second. Any further discussion on those? All those in favor of accepting the minutes from the April meeting, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on into citizens' input tonight, and first on the list would be Mr. Jim Fox. Jim, are you here tonight? Okay.
All righty, thank you. My name is Jim Fox, Abilene Trail, Dandridge, Tennessee. In the legal world, a document that cannot be produced does not exist, whether that be a contract agreement or producing a driver's license and an insurance card at a traffic stop or at a planning commission resolution. In this case, the document to allow someone besides this body to approve a subdivision plots cannot be found. Therefore, it does not exist. Members of this body swore an oath to obey the Constitution and the laws of the state of Tennessee, among other things. This body has known about this issue for over 6 months now and has deliberately been violating state code instead of fixing the issue. This body has directed several people on several occasions to produce the document to follow the directions of this body without any repercussions. How can this body be taken seriously if the county employees and other folks are allowed to blatantly disregard the directions of this board? Also, the Tennessee Code states that the authority can only be delegated to a member of this body. Is the zoning department a member of this body? If so, where is the document for that? Until a document is found or a resolution to delegate a member of this commission is approved, the body must and is only and are the only ones that can approve these two lot subdivisions. Secondly, the second issue is, and all past approvals could be considered invalid, especially in a court of law, so something needs to be done to ensure past approvals are valid. Think about someone doing a title search on a piece of property that they intend to buy. That's the way we've always done it. It's not a valid legal defense. Ask any speeder or drunk driver. Again, the document cannot be found. It does not exist. To say we don't have time demonstrates a lack of commitment to the job you signed up for and the best interest of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. And the next person from citizens input will be Gail Weaver for Xanadu.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to pass this. Trish is going to speak to this issue.
I'm Gail Weaver Farzanagan. I live at 2535 Edgewater Lane in Dandridge. And I have a few thoughts that I'd like to share with you. And it relates to, I think, your item at the last of the agenda on approval of plats for subdivisions. Basically, what I wanted to say to you all is that in-house approvals of subdivision plats lends itself to a perception that something is not quite right, something's being hid, something is being taken away from the public to know these things. It's just not the way that the public should be treated. I think that we all want to have transparency and openness on everything that we do. You know, the sunshine law in it all. So I would say the best way to prevent misperceptions is through openness. And through openness and transparency, what you do is that you create a good feeling from the public that you're doing an upstanding job. And I think, you know, that's what we all want. So I just want to be sure that you know that transparency is of the utmost importance, and perceptions can be wrong, but there's still a perception. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Okay, and the next person we have tonight is Kathleen Villers.
Good evening. Kathleen Villers, 2202 Arrowhead Drive, Dandridge, and I'm speaking about agenda item K. Per the Tennessee Code, one of the most important duties of the Regional Planning Commission involves plat approval. Although state statutes allow for review of a plat to be done in-house by staff, there was no record of this review authority ever found or granted by the RPC. Regardless, plat signature authority accountability could not have been delegated to staff per Tennessee Code, which specifically requires signature by the RPC secretary. As we know, the plat for the sheds was signed in-house in December 16, 2024. This brought to light a much broader code compliance issue on what appears to be improper in-house signing of two-plat subdivisions by staff for quite some time. A review of the Register of Deeds recorded plats from December 24 to March 25, and I believe this is the same data that you would be looking at, showed approximately 33 plats that were signed in-house. This would equate, if we annualize that, to about 100 plats per year not signed, authorized by the RPC secretary. A key question remains, what do you do with the past plats that were not properly signed? Is there a correction needed on these past approvals? I would suggest, at a minimum, consulting with the county attorney on this. Going forward, how do you ensure proper adherence to state codes and proper review and signature of subdivision plats? Well, if the RPC chooses to have staff review two plat subdivisions, then the granting of that review authority needs to occur in a public meeting, RPC meeting, with a posted agenda item and then be voted on. If review authority is granted, to perhaps take pressure off of the zoning staff, a suggestion, maybe an overall checklist could be developed, and each plat being reviewed in-house should then have that checklist completed. The checklist should include the regs governing the subdivision of land within the RPC's jurisdiction. These regulations provide the requirements for plat approval. Then, once a review by staff is completed, I pose two very key questions. One, does the secretary of the RPC feel comfortable shouldering the full responsibility of approval of about 100 two-plat subdivisions per year without any involvement from the rest of the RPC? Two, it appears the Regional Planning Commission is responsible for the plat accuracy, the recorded plats. Question, do the members of the RPC feel comfortable having the review and approval of about 100 two-plat subdivisions per year occurring with just staff review and only one of your members, the RPC secretary's signature? At a minimum, I would suggest that any plats approved by the RPC secretary, perhaps if they occur between meetings, that following staff review and the signing, there definitely should be a way to summarize these plat approvals during the subsequent RPC meeting. That way, the two plat subdivisions, and we talked about transparency, the two plat subdivisions could become a matter of public record and part of the meeting minutes and provide public transparency. The prior process in-house, signing by just one person, in my opinion, represents an internal control weakness. I've got a pretty extensive background in audit, and it would seem also to create, because of one person in-house, that public suspicion or perception due to the lack of transparency. In conclusion, one of the most important duties of the RPC involves plat approval. It's very important that this committee follow state statutes. The future health and our well-being of our county will be impacted by what you do. Thank you.
Please. Okay, moving on from citizens' input, and since if you all will allow me the opportunity to do this, I'm going to deviate just a little bit from the agenda since it's the hot topic we just heard about. Item K is what the citizens spoke on, and I'd like to update the Planning Commission as well as the citizens who are here tonight. I have been in contact with our county attorney, Mr. Brennan. He has asked for more time on this. He said he should have the ability to produce that document if it's there by next month's meeting. So there's really nothing we can do. The lawyer is working on it right now on producing that stuff. So that's from a conversation we had earlier today. So I would entertain a motion to postpone K till the June meeting.
Do we need?
Parliamentary. You'll need a motion to postpone. There's nothing we can do on it because we're waiting on our county lawyer's direction on producing the document.
Next month.
Till we get the information.
And he said that should give enough time. So we have a proper motion, we have a second. Have a second, is there any further discussion on item K? Being none, all those in favor of postponing K for the June meeting, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. We can mark that one off the agenda, and then we'll start back at the top with item A.
Just a point of clarification, please, when you refer to the document, could you be a little more specific? I'm not sure what you mean by the document, by the attorney.
Okay, and I'll allow this question to be asked, but then we're not gonna have any other questions asked from the
But
audience.
it's an important question, Brian.
It's the minutes
Okay.
that you all are requesting, or when it was given. In the conversation I've had, he knows that it was given to that office, the ability. The attorney knows that that's been common practice for a while. He's looking for the minutes or when that took place, whether county commission did it, whether the planning commission voted on it. Zoning started in 1998 in Jefferson County. Planning commission was in place long before that. And he is actually going back to look at some of the members who were on the planning commission back then to see when they were given the authority to the office. But it was given. We're just trying to produce when and where. So that's what I'm talking about. And the document will be the minutes if they're there. But that's what he's looking for. You're very welcome. Okay. With an A rezoning request from A1 to R1 for a property at 3254 Blue Springs Road, Strawberry Plains by Jordan B. Pierce. Mr. Pierce with us tonight, or representative? Okay, if you would step forward. Talk to us about what you want to do.
Oh, cut.
Okay, you, Mr. Pierce.
Yes, I am.
Okay, talk to us about what you've got in mind here.
Okay, I was just purchased the property and I'd like to be able to split the property. There's a few things that I'm working on with easements and stuff on it, but I wanted to split that property to build another house.
Okay, and the total size of the lot is how much?
I'm not sure on that. I have to look at it. I don't have it on there. It's 1 point something.
Point
I didn't know I had to speak. I didn't know any information I'd bring with me.
1.25.
1.25.
There's a little.
Yeah, I believe it's R1 everywhere else but that piece of property.
Yes, and you look at this, what's your thoughts?
I think this is a very simple rezoning. It's R1 across the street. You've got areas of R1 that is already zoned.
Yes, ma'am.
My first thing is, if you're wanting to split it to sell one off, you should rezone the entire lot.
Yes.
Never zone half of a lot.
Correct.
Just administratively, years from now, it's always problematic. So I would suggest changing it to the entire lot, but you have C2 on the corner across the street from it, and R1 is prevalent, and it obviously has sewer and water.
Yep.
Yep.
So you have no issues with this request? Stephanie, you got anything?
Mr. Chairman, so I see here on the request form, it says a portion of parcel, but you're okay with doing it?
Yes. Yes, that's fine.
We can't subdivide it at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, you can if it's not the whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at that point, your half lot would be in non-compliance.
Right. Right. Yeah, it wouldn't be with the square footage requirements on there. What I've looked at, it has to be the whole lot.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the rezoning of the full parcel.
Proper motion, do we have a second? Have a second, any further discussion? All those in favor of rezoning for Mr. Pierce, let it know by saying aye. All those opposed, passed. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Final plat review for lots, for 3 lots on County Road, Newmarket by Tanner Step.
I was here last month and made the corrections that were pointed out to me as far as formatting and stuff goes on the survey.
Yes. Catherine, Catherine Leah's title, I didn't force you to ask, but you've had a chance to look at what he's presented, correct?
Yes.
Did it satisfy everything that you was asking for?
Yeah, I only had one question about it, that's weird. Tom,
I signed off on it, yeah, he's good.
you're good?
Yeah.
He's good.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Step about this? Have a proper motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second, any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the 3-lot subdivision, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mr. Step, thank you.
Thank you.
Mom, we got anything? We just had one more. Mix it in so it gets washed. Okay, we're to item C, final plat review for 3 lots on Mountain View Church Road, Jefferson City by George C. Maples and Kathy Moore. Okay.
Who do I need to?
Oh,
How are you?
Gary, hello, hello. Okay. Eddie, and Mr. Moser, we have got some things here that the planner looked at and had some questions about, so I'm gonna turn it over to her and let her, talk to you about those.
All right.
So, in looking at the plat, it looks like the property line goes to the center line of the road. And then your signature block, indicated that you were dedicating that?
We're dedicating the right of way, not the fee simple.
You're dedicating the right of
We're
way.
dedicating the right of way. We're leaving the boundary line. We can't give away property. You know, we're giving the boundary line stays where it's at. We're gonna dedicate proper right of way, 25 foot of right of way, but not in fee simple, just like we've always done.
I don't understand.
We'll dedicate the right of way for general public to use it, but we have to keep the property line where it's at. We don't dedicate.
Then you're not dedicating it.
We're dedicating the right of way.
Okay, you need to,
The right
then you
to drive
need
on.
to record that as an public access easement, not right of way.
Well,
Uh,
in lieu of,
Now, I'm familiar with all the recent surveying law about dedication of right of way. And you could do
that's
that.
not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in Jefferson County, we got a thing on mineral rights, mines, where everybody goes, where they can buy one side and one of the other. We don't care to dedicate for the right to people to drive on it, but we
Okay,
can't
then-
give the
then-
land away.
You're recording an easement then. So
We're
if you would,
recording a right of way for public use, just like it says right here.
right of way indicates public ownership. Access easement is actually what it is. So I would ask that that be corrected. You're setting back, your setback is 30 feet,
From
but
the
that's
right-of-way
not,
line.
That was my question. Is that from
From the right of
the
way.
center line of the road, or is that from what you're proposing as right-of-way?
We come from the center line of the road, 25 foot from the right of way, then a 30-foot setback from that. So it would be 55 from center line.
Okay, perfect. I just wasn't sure because you labeled it, and I wanted to make sure that that was actually from the edge of what you're
Well,
proposing as right-of-way.
on
'cause
lot 2, if you're looking at that.
It says, yeah, it
You
says
see where
30.
the proposed house, and I got 30 foot
Yeah.
from there to there, then it says 30 foot setback. We've talked about it twice right there in that one spot.
I just wanted to clarify because it wasn't dimensioned, it was labeled. Your barn on lot 3 should be recognized as a legal nonconformity, in case there's ever any question about it, because it exists before the action that we're taking tonight. So your 30-foot would have been, it would have been legal, now it's, by your dedications, it's not gonna be. So you might want to add a note to that just to keep the titles clean. You didn't add a signature block for the water utility.
We're not putting any water in. We're not putting any electric in. We're not building any roads.
You're not putting any,
There's already utility water there. I've got it on there.
okay, then the utility district has to sign off that you've accurately located it. So
What?
you need a signature block for the water utility. You need a signature block for the electric utility. You need a signature block for 911 to recognize that there's 3 new lots. And you need a signature block from the road superintendent that the roadway has been accurately located, and he is aware that you're dedicating to the center line of the road.
When did you come up with all this stuff right here?
Sir,
Sir, ma'am, we turn these in 10 days prior. I get corrections on the morning of the meeting, which makes it really tough for anybody to comply.
do you have a copy of the subdivision regulations?
Do you?
Yes, sir, I do. And there is a checklist in there, which was just recently brought up. Is there a checklist in there? And there is a
When we're
checklist.
subdividing on a piece of property, it's already got the power line, the water line, and the road asphalted. We don't go back before and have the road superintendent to see if I've accurately located the road, because he wouldn't know.
Well,
How
those
do
are
we
my
know?
comments. You need to speak to the planning commission because I'm not changing my comments.
I understand.
And I would recommend that they approve this with my comments and that the plat not be recorded until it's corrected and the information is provided.
That seems very reasonable to me.
It seems reasonable to you that when we have an existing road, we have existing power line, we have existing water line, that I have to go back and get the power company to sign off saying what? I'm gonna get the water company saying what? Mike Jones told me where the water line was. That's how I found it. It's how I know where to put it. I already contacted him. He showed me where to put it. As far as the road goes, I shot the center line of asphalt. I know where that's at. And the power poles, we know where the power's at. So I don't understand why we've never on existing. Now, when we build and understand when we're building and constructing new, we have they need to sign off on everything new that we do, but when it's existing, why do we need to go through and have all that? Because they're not certifying anything.
They're certifying that you have accurately represented their utilities. This is standard fare.
Well, I would ask the planning commission that we do what we've been doing for 40 years and not do that.
Any thoughts from anybody?
Before I speak.
I'm new on here, and I honestly see both sides of it. I know you've been doing this for years and the thing, so I'm kind of at a loss myself on how to go. Go ahead.
We can, doing it for years doesn't make it right.
I understand that.
It sets
I'm not saying
precedent
it's
what
right,
was
that's
been
why
done.
I'm torn.
Yeah.
I just,
Here's my
I
deal.
see your side of it too. You want- and
My job is to advise you. What
So
you
I'm
do
just
is your
kinda, you know,
business.
That's where I'm sort of torn a little bit. but
I will say that I service 6 communities. These are the regulations in all 6. And that includes another county.
Okay. I think
I'm not against what you're saying.
Yeah, I just want you to understand
I'm used
that.
to-
one of our issues is the turnaround time from the time you get to see it. And then you have those, and then if he goes back to get those and we postpone this for another month and it's held up, let me finish, please. It's held up, I think is where Eddie's saying, it's delayed the process. Now, I think what you were saying is that if Mr. Garrett is willing to get those signature blocks signed, they can move forward and he can be approved contingent upon those things being signed.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no holdup to it. Let me finish off. And I recognize you in a minute. That's why I asked before I started speaking. So, and this is a kind of a side topic with that. How can we get this to you earlier so you have time to get it back to them so we're not putting them a month behind if there's things that need to be done? To get you a chance to review it and let them look at it before they get the information the morning of that they have to make all these changes. And whether we like it or not, and I don't think any of us have been here for a tremendous amount of time, and if it's set the precedence that this is the way stuff's been done, it's been handled, and there's been no issues with the previous planners that have sat in the same seat Ms. Baldwin sat in and had these same conversations, and we've moved right along to change it, change how we do business without properly notifying and having that conversation with the folks that come before us. And to put a delay on what they're trying to get done, I think that's a disservice for the folks that are trying to move forward with projects. So if we're going to do this, that's well and good. In just a moment, please. It's well and good that we do it, but let's make sure everybody's on notice. Let's develop a better way to get it turned into you and looked at, and any questions that you may have be addressed before the morning of. But let's don't delay the folks who are doing things that have been checked off on and been agreed upon and signed off on for years. And slow them down for 4 to 6 weeks to try to get something like this done. That's my thoughts. Now, I think Ms. Baldwin wants to speak, and I think also you'd like to speak, Alton, so I'll let ladies first.
My recommendation is to approve it with all conditions. And that way he leaves, he has approval, he makes the corrections, gives them to Stephanie. When they have all been made, she calls the secretary and they come in and sign it.
And that's why I understood what you were saying.
Yeah,
That's why I brought
those
that
are
up, that
just
you was
conditions of approval.
Conditions, like to see this
Yeah.
done and we're good.
Yeah, and in your subregs, it says, that you are supposed to represent all existing and proposed utilities. If you want to read it, and also the checklist, does say that as well. So if you approve it with conditions, he can make those. Surveyors never get the signatures, it's always property owners, typically, unless you charge them for it. So the only thing is he addresses these, and as I said, brings it into Stephanie, so the ball's in his court.
Okay, that's done. Alton?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item C contingent upon the items pointed out by the planner, that those be corrected.
Okay, we have a proper motion, do we have a second? Seconds. Is there any further discussion? And Eddie, you please with that?
Yeah, but I mean, I'll do whatever you want to, but we're gonna have someone, been giving me 7 hours before this meeting, before you tell me.
That's something we're definitely.
You want 10 days, you give me 6 hours.
It doesn't have to be corrected. before
Well, but that's
the meeting.
beside the point. We'd like to bring it in here ready to go. And if we need to speak before, or what day, how many days do you need before I call you? And we'll get this done way before the day, because then we're scrambling around here with 2 or 3 or how many I've got in here to try to get all this done. You know, there's no use me turning into you 10 days if I'm gonna get corrections the day of the meeting.
Right. And we're gonna address that. We're gonna address that. So we'll handle what we got a motion on in a
But
second.
I'll make it real easy for you all, but you're gonna have to help me out a little bit too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So is there any further discussion on what we're voting on? Everybody knows we're gonna approve it with those conditions. Mr. Garrett, please for handling that, getting that done. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, and Austin, would you restate your motion, just to make sure everybody's clear?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item C contingent upon the items that were in the handout from our planner, that those items be corrected.
All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Give them some of this or not. I don't mean, we gotta make new ones.
Item D, final plat review for Somerset Farms, Phase 2, 15 lots off the Tappan Kansas Road. By GGDA, GP, and Glenn, I'm not even gonna look at it. Waffenheim. Are you here? Okay. I hope you don't take any offense to that. That was out of respect, I didn't want to butcher it.
Just call me Grand G. That's my new name.
Okay.
One thing of note about this plat is a final plat, and they will be dedicating public utilities and, a public roadway, is my understanding. When you do when you have any plats that are dedicating public infrastructure, you have to make sure that there's nothing outstanding when you approve this plat, because when he files it, you know, you lose the ability to bond anything. Okay, and I asked Stephanie to check with the county road superintendent, and can I guess, ask you or your owner, all utilities, stormwater facilities, top coat, the roadway is constructed through the top coat?
Yes, it's complete.
Everything is complete?
Yes.
And I think you checked with the, yes. Okay. And, I did have, a couple things. One, the radius of the cul-de-sac is omitted. This is a requirement of the subgrade, a certificate for stormwater facilities stating that the post-development releases equal to or less than pre-development. That would be something that your surveyor would certify.
Well, do I need TDEC? See, I'm working with the state with TDEC. Lee Yates is the guy who makes
For your
inspection.
stormwater
Yes.
Prevention plan
Yeah.
permit, yeah.
Right.
Under your permit stormwater.
So Eddie would,
What is it you need about, what is it that I need to do? Oh, this road building's not my bag.
I honestly, this is unusual for me. You guys don't need any kind of detention or anything?
That is all left up to whoever he hires as an engineer to propose a plan through the state, which would be Mr. Yates. And Mr. Yates
well,
makes the
TDEC,
final say so on.
But that's for, yeah,
I
that's.
think
Yeah.
it's so it's so large of trash.
Well, no,
Yeah.
they're supposed to come up designing detention ponds now, and, you know, I hate to say it, but I've had a little bit of problem with some of that, because some of the developers doing and not the license what they approve. And, you know, I've got a little problem with that. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. I'm not in stormwater, I'm septic.
I mean,
But I'm
here's-
just saying, the stormwater, he gets an engineer, he'll submit a plan to Mr. Yates, right? Am I
well,
correct?
the
He just
TDEC,
works
Mr.
solely with
Yates,
Mr.
he makes the inspections on the property to make sure you put your
So I
fences
just- I
up
just wanna
properly,
make
that
sure
type of
that
thing.
Your stormwater, I'm assuming that this is at a pretty good incline here.
Well,
that-
it's all this large trash, you know, everything's
Yeah.
so big.
But the right of way of the road, is it curb and gutter?
No,
No, good.
we didn't want
Did
to
you
concentrate
direct
as
the
much.
drainage to
So the
drive
existing, the existing drain plan, if you look at the topo map, follows, so the farmer years and years
Well,
ago.
that was my question.
Yeah.
Is if it's
It
going
comes
to
to the
an
creek both
existing
ways.
conveyance, but you didn't do any curb gutter, so there's no,
No.
storm- there's no pipes or anything?
We have,
No
we
drainage
have,
structures except the pipe under the road where the creek's at.
Okay. I mean, it's really low density, there's not a lot of impervious surface here.
and we got, I think, 6 acres and 15 home sites on 96 acres.
I mean, this is pretty, I don't see any impact here, but I do want to get you guys in the habit of when you look at a final plat, especially when you've got infrastructure improvements. Let's say this was the R1 subdivision that we looked at a while ago, and so you've got lots that are, 7,500 square foot. You add the roadway, you add driveways, rooftops. You gotta look at the tension in a circumstance like that. So this, I don't think is any issue, but it is part of the review process, so I just want to ask those questions. I would ask them for the radius of the cul-de-sac. Is it 100 foot?
It's in the notes, in your curb data, every one of them says a radius 50 foot. It's in the curb data. C1, C2, C3,
Then the flag, right
it's on the plat,
on the flag, it says C1, C2.
right there. Every one of them's got the radius,
What is the radius of the cul-de-sac?
50 foot.
It's 50 foot?
So,
Oh, okay, so you're saying C12, C11?
all the little curves there, it has it in the curb data. I can put you one in the middle if that suits, if that's what you want.
I mean, that's usually what someone does is
That's what you're used to. The transition radiuses
I
are,
would
the
appreciate
the transition radiuses are 25, and then the main ones, it's like, it's on the curb.
So those, I think it's fine.
I have
Yes.
a question on lot 5, the right of way to it, is it block
One's
3?
on
I think that's the house, and that's phase 1.
I had the same comment.
Yeah, that was phase 1.
We've already done that.
Yeah, that was phase 1,
My bad.
yeah.
I'm assuming they use the right of way on 3. That's-
It was an access easement, not a right-of-way, per her point.
I'm new.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just
but that was a,
right-of-way covenant.
so, that's been 9 months
We've
ago.
already done that.
Yeah.
I'm slow.
It's all right, it's okay. Tom, you get the left thing.
Yeah, what he's doing right there is 5 acres, right there. I don't have to look at it.
They're all exempt except
Yeah.
for-
Everything else is approved.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item D.
We have a proper motion, do we have a second? Any further discussion on item D? All those in favor of approval of item D, let us know by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
I think is this the one with all the signatures? Well, I gave it to Stephanie. Oh, she gave it back.
We are to item E on the agenda, revised site plan for Timberstone RV Resort, addition and rally center. We have Mr. Chad Dixon here.
I don't even know this guy.
You don't want me nowhere near you, do you?
Get out here, Eddie.
That's right.
You had no comment on this.
No, it's just the addition of these two, the areas identified in yellow, the site's constructed and they're very minor.
So you saw no issues whatsoever?
No, you might want to ask Tom if
That's,
he's
I'm
approved.
going to this a move down. It's, sorry, on item E that we're looking at, Timberstone, the bathhouse and the Valley Center. Any issues that you saw there with either one of those?
It got existing systems down there already in place. with a trailer down there? He said he
No,
couldn't
no,
get-
this is over on the other side. It's on the campground side, but we done,
Oh, is it?
we
Oh, okay,
done,
I'm
we
sorry.
done, it's already installed.
One
Yeah,
block.
it's down there at swimming pool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything down there is, everything's approved and taken care of for any restrooms or anything like that and stuff now. And, when he gets through with it, one thing about Chad on all his developments, he's one of the first ones that did anything like this, did after the fact, showing all the utilities and everything in it. So, people went to.
Yeah, we GPS it all as we go.
So everything's GPS.
Sorry, Bob, I'll be right with you.
What's a rally center? What's on here? What does that mean? Rally center? What is it?
The definition of rally center, well, that's just when you can have rallies. Just say, for example, people that own Tiffin motorhomes, there'll be 85 or 100 of them come for a rally and they want a place where they can eat and drink and carry on. Keeps them from stumbling out on the state highway.
Can we do that?
$100 a night.
Yeah, they're playing like a pavilion in the campground.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
That's awesome.
Chairman, one question, a little bit of motion. The pool building slash bathrooms, does that need to have a measurement on it? Is that relevant to this?
It should. I mean, you should provide dimensions. Your judicial building permits for them?
We have it.
No, but
Oh, yeah.
there will be building.
There will be.
Yeah.
They'll bring it
So-
on.
Because the rally center has so,
As you mentioned on the.
yeah, so without it in a motion for you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item E, contingent on the additions of dimensions placed on the pool building slash bathhouse.
We have a proper motion. Any further discussion? Chad, you're pleased with providing those dimensions?
Yeah, I'll get those and get the building permit. I'll turn them in.
All those in
Yeah.
favor of approving that, let the number saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah. Site plan review for Timberstone Food Park to be located at 2023 West Highway 2570 New Market by Duckman Valley Property. Chad Dixon. And this will be across 2570 from the campground.
That's correct.
Did you read the notes? Well,
Yeah, let Kathy speak for that.
So anytime a use is proposed, I was checking the zoning ordinance if it's an allowable use. This use is not in your allowable use category, especially for A1. And I realize that it's across from your campground, but it's not specified. I will tell you that most of the time when these things are allowed, jurisdictions typically have, much like we're going through the process right now with your short-term rentals, they will have a governing document for food courts or food parks. In that, you've got fire codes to meet, there are license issues for individual food offerings. They have to meet health department regulations. Those things typically have to be approved. They have to have a state permit. And so, in addition to it being allowable use somewhere, there's a whole set of permits that go with it when they are allowed. And I asked Stephanie if you have them anywhere else. Now, when they're in a carnival, something like a carnival, typically that's included in the permit for the carnival because it's there for the duration and then it's gone.
this is I assume that this is permanent, and once again, it's not allowable use specifically in that zone district. It's not allowable use
In any zone
in
district.
any zone
Any zone
district.
district, but it's likening to the other allowable uses that are currently in that, such as restaurant, flea market, all those type things that have different vendors that come. And then when it comes to licensing on the food and the permits, each individual truck has to have that for theirself, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's not the responsibility of the person that
No.
set it up to have that license.
Yeah, that goes through food in general. Yeah,
That's-
I have a food truck at Anchor Dam. That's my food truck, and I have to have it inspected twice a year. They do random inspections, just like swimming pool inspections for commercial pools. It's basically the same people that come out.
Right, and this may change weekly or monthly to whoever's there, set
That's
up
right.
and sell it.
That's right.
So
And
do
there'll
you,
probably be a lot of times it's empty.
Right, depending on what time of year it is.
That's right.
so do you have a fire hydrant? Are there fire hydrants on this side?
Not on that side, there's not. There's a fire hydrant on Timberstone side.
But this is a separate legal lot of record, so it has to stand alone.
Okay.
It won't, if you've got people coming up and down the Asheville Highway that want to stop here, there are no restrooms, there are no fire hydrants, there's nowhere to wash your hands. So there's, again, you can't look at it as part of the campground. It's on a separate legal lot of record, and it has to stand by itself.
I don't know that
And,
I've ever seen a food park. I mean, they set up over here beside Weigel's. They ain't got restrooms. There's nothing there. People come and
well,
get
the
food to go.
Weigels would have it if they're on their property.
Well, they're not on Weigel's property. They're on the lot.
It's an adjacent lot, and
Yeah.
in Newmarket, they set up
set
a
up-
red light, and it's on lots that are
Okay.
privately
If y'all are
owned.
good with it, it's,
Yeah.
that's a
Mobile units.
determination for you to make.
Yeah.
And more, I'm sure it would probably catch some road traffic, but predominantly it would be catering to those who are staying in.
Yeah,
the
it'll be
campground.
catering to anybody's hungry, but I mean, there'll be room for people to get off the road and turn, and there's a back street to go out. I think it shows ingress and egress. They could go either way.
It does.
And there's some parking there, but it's not typically a sit-down restaurant type of atmosphere. People just order food. We go to Kodak, get it quite often at the food trucks down there.
Right.
You take it with you.
And then of course, there is a bathhouse with restrooms directly across the road. I know it's a separate piece of property,
Yeah.
but there's something there you can get to if you wanted to.
And if this thing takes off and goes, and there's a need for restrooms there, I mean, there's already a septic system that's installed that would be more than adequate to handle 2 restrooms.
To the trailer.
Yeah, there's 2 different houses that were on the property.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that stuff's done installed, the infrastructure is. It would just be a matter of building some restrooms.
Mr. Chairman.
We have any? Yes.
So I believe, we don't have food park anywhere in our
Nowhere.
zoning. I know the one in Dandridge obviously is in the town of Dandridge. If you're referring to Don's place out there in Newmarket, I believe that would.
Well, Don's been there predominantly, but it's swapping up their different food
Sure.
trucks, and then they're setting up in the county park across the road.
But that
City
would,
park.
would that all fall in the city of Newmarket? I guess what I'm saying is, does the BZA need to make this determination? Because I can't think of one that has occurred in the county. And I could see this coming up in the future just as that's become a more popular thing, the food truck stuff, so. I can't think of when it's been done in the county.
Don't think there is one.
2570,
20.
that Goose Creek.
There is. Goose Creek, 2570. Yeah. And that's,
They're not there every day.
No, they're just there like.
Well, they may not be here every day.
Yeah, they're not.
They just come and go.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got, not me speaking out there, we don't have anything governing food trucks and service as far as I'm concerned. I'd say, put your portal head out there.
Yeah.
We could allow that, like, cause there's no regulation saying that you have to provide them So if you got a food truck, you gotta just, give them a place. I know you said washing hands and everything else, you think, hope it be sanitized, but they're not gonna be in there preparing the food, so.
Right.
They won't eat the dirty hands.
If you've got two trucks there, they're gonna fall under different permits, different licensing to sell. There's not gonna be one governing the whole thing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Food in general is what this falls under through the health department, not through our department, but through the health department. And they would make sure that, going back to permitting, she was talking about, with all the permits, and then they do an inspection just like a regular restaurant and everything else. And I don't know anything outside of that as far as food trucks that they do, as far as enforcing any other kind of, facilities or anything like that for somebody to park there, that I know of.
And that was my concern, your zoning ordinance is totally solid on this. And in most jurisdictions I've worked with, there is a provision that has standards that have to be met, a bathroom being one of them. But also a fire hydrant.
I know at Morristown, they're all over Morristown. And I asked somebody about that, and they said they just do what they want to do, go around, park, and sell food.
Yeah.
Nobody has no problem with it, so.
Well, most everybody likes to eat.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I was,
Bob won't speak.
okay.
Castle Highway is a pretty congested highway. When I try to go to Knoxville, for example, there's a lot of traffic there. And I'm wondering that this is directly across from an RV park. Is there going to be a problem with congestion in that area?
Only if there's a wreck on 40.
Yeah.
People running back and forth across from the RV park to the food out there. Is that going to be an issue? Is that a safety issue?
They could be, but really that's not for us to make that decision on what's allowed in this. Yeah, but that would be a whole different conversation to take up, not for us to decide on, as far as safety concerns of it. It's what we're looking at is this allowable in the zone that's there, in the A1 zone?
Okay.
That's what we're looking at. Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm not concerned with the food trucks or the traffic or anything like that. I'm just keep coming back to food park, and that our zoning is silent on it. There's nothing in our zoning about it. For that reason, I do feel that this probably should go before the BZA to make a decision on where it should go.
And I do know we've not seen these in the past, and I do know when we've had things like this come up that doesn't have a specific place, we have looked at what's likened unto. And I think that's what we were asked to do with this, and looking at what there is in A1. And I looked at that earlier today, and it fell right in line with everything else that there was there. I mean, they can have a flea market there if it wants to. And they can have a food truck set up at the flea market. It's allowed for people to come in and use that. They're just peddling food and not use boots, at this location. So that's where it should go, in my opinion, with what we have to look at. Now, do we need to develop a place for it to be specifically moving forward? That's a conversation we can have. But for the information we've got tonight, I hate to hold the fella up because we hadn't been faced with this before.
It's not his fault.
It's very likened unto. I can't make the motion to move forward with
I'll
it.
make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of approving, let me get my glasses back on and get to the right item. Timberstone Food Park, item F on the agenda. Let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4 to 3, motion passes. Thank you.
But I do think, I agree with Austin, we need to.
Yeah, we need to look at it. Absolutely. Okay.
G, site plan review for the addition of a new building to be constructed at 1959 Highlander Way in Newmarket. Is anyone here representing Highlander Way?
I told them somebody needed to be here.
Yeah.
Make a motion to postpone.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on postponing item G? All those in favor of the postponement, let me know by saying aye. All those opposed, motion passes.
I would suggest that Stephanie make my comments, provide them a copy, and the event if they want to resubmit. There's not a lot of info there.
No. And they had a fire.
That's to replace a building that was a fire.
It was an existing building and
It's
they're
been
building
several
back.
years ago.
But there was a building there. I don't know how long it's been since it burned, but I remember it burning. Yeah, it's been a little while. Okay. We're to item H, a resolution amending the subdivision regulations of Jefferson County, Tennessee regarding road construction, bonding, and as-built drawings. Everyone has a copy of that resolution in their packet.
Yes, so this was on the agenda for last month, and one of the things that we had discussed was, and again, now you can see the ones on the screen. This is one of the things I want to do. You can see where there are yellow highlights, so that those are quantitative issues that I wanted to check and make sure that you were in agreement with. And I also wanted to check with your county road superintendent. He is fine with it. And this is just pretty well firming up your endorsements of signature blocks on there. Also, your surety approvals. If you'll remember, 2 months ago, we had only a LOC, a letter of credit. I was asked by John Neal to go back in and put a surety bond. So I kind of got some language for a surety bond, which is more of an insurance bond or performance bond as opposed to LOC. And I put citations on the letter of credit, establishing a threshold for the type of bank that can issue an LOC to be held by the county, and that the bank or the financial institution which posts a LOC must be within Jeff County or a county which touches Jeff County. You don't want to have to travel to collect your LOC. Yes, I've had a city attorney had to go to Florida to get a performance bond before. He liked it. So the surety bond, which is an insurance bond or performance bond, I added language in for that. The time frame, incomplete improvements must be complete within 1 year. And the either an LOC or a performance bond must be for a specified time frame. That's a year. In the event that the work is not completed and there wants to be a extension, the Planning Commission has the authority to grant an extension. Now, normally, and I wanted to ask you about your county road superintendent, if you guys are aware, acceptance at 75% build out, do you guys have a standard threshold for acceptance? Because I know with the document we just looked at that they were doing the roadway, they've already top coated it, and a lot of times that's not even allowed.
It's like 3 years for the county accepted. Yeah.
So,
Isn't that right in 3 years? On accepting the road unless they decide they want to early. I said 3 years on Charlie and them on accepting the roads, my understanding, that's Joe's changing. Okay. It was 3 what it had it based on before. Yeah. Yeah.
Except whatever.
I mean, what they reckon,
Another thing is that if a surety, either a LOC or a performance bond is being reduced, let's say you have a really big subdivision and they do part of it, they could ask for a reduction in the work that's been performed. They can only do that once a year. These are for multi-phase subdivisions, which hopefully you guys will have in the future. And I assume that you've had to date. The LOC or the performance bond can be reduced only down to 40% of the face value of the original amount of surety. Issuance of building permits. I'm not sure you guys want to include this. Item 7 is that prior to issuance of a building permit, when you've got a bonded final plat, that there be accessibility by emergency vehicles.
I would like that in there.
You know, a lot of times, how many times have you heard of a construction site catch on fire? And if there's not all-weather surface, they can't get there. Or if someone is hurt on a construction site, ambulance cannot get there. So that's one I think you should think about. If you want to do that, that is currently not in your subregs. The timeline for acceptance, I've got, will not be considered until 2 years, and I think that's in your existing subregs, actually. I don't think I changed that. After the final plat has been recorded, all work has been completed, or until 50% of the lots are fully developed, whichever is the shortest time frame. So like for the subdivision you just approved, that would be 50, there's 15 lots, you'd have to build on 7. Or 2 years.
Whichever shorter.
Whichever is shorter. Now, there does have to be a recommendation from the planning commission to the county commission to accept the roadway. Have y'all ever always done that?
Say that again.
The planning commission has to recommend acceptance.
I don't believe we've ever done that.
No, it's never been brought back. No. Not since I've been aboard.
It's always just been between the superintendent and the county commission.
State law, planning commission has to do the recommendation.
Yeah.
On his recommendation.
So it would go highway department, RPC, county commission.
Yeah. And the resolution should have that recommendation in there. And it's, so in state law, zoning is a council function. The planning commission only recommends. Subdivision regulations rest strictly with the planning commission. The only thing that the county commission is doing is accepting fiscal, FISCAL, maintenance of it. And the road has already been declared as right-of-way. It's declared as right-of-way when the plat's recorded. But this body has to recommend, and typically, the road superintendent will do a punch list. In the 2 years, has there anything that's happened to the roadway that prior to acceptance, let's say a section falls out, you've got some erosion, part of the roadway's collapsed, that should be borne by the developer. Obviously, that's not natural or normal wear and tear.
I believe before he brings one to us as county commissioners to approve, he goes out and inspects it. This is just the formalities, what you're
It
asking
is.
for. And I
It is.
think we ought to do that. I need to make that motion.
Yeah, that's in.
It's included in this, that
Yeah,
specific part.
and that's Tennessee code. It's not.
And it's just a formality.
We have a subdivision in the county right now that's got about 20 lots in it. Road's 5 years old, and the red clay's coming through.
And this
several
would
places.
prevent that, wouldn't it?
This would stop that from happening. And the county never accepted that road. It never got brought back to them, and the company that developed the subdivision, they left, and the company's no longer in existence. They're out of the state of Georgia.
And there are no bonds.
No bonds.
Yeah, I'm afraid
And
you eat it.
those people are hurting.
Did you have any more on this?
That's about a 5-year-old deal.
There is something I want all the surveyors to know, Eddie, is that prior to them recommending, the roadway acceptance to the county commission, we get an as-built on the roadway and all the utilities.
That it?
That's it.
That's in here.
That's in there, it's last
it's-
She was
paragraph.
just- yeah.
Yeah, it's there.
Mr. Chairman,
I thought we looked at it.
sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I move to approve item H as presented in this meeting.
You raised your hand for what? Okay. Let me
You
get
can recommend it for public hearing.
That's what I said.
We have to advertise a public hearing notice 30 days in advance.
Did you catch that motion, Mr. Chairman?
I did catch that motion, but I also caught her hand, and I just wanted to make sure we had
Yeah.
clarity before we
I
move
didn't
forward.
catch it.
Okay, so we.
But we still handle it all in this body.
You do?
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion to,
Have a public hearing.
have a public hearing to accept this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? And this will be, you got a question?
So you almost hit it.
No, this will be next month's meeting, will be this one.
Yes. Public notice will be put out 30 days before next month's meeting. We want to
hold on.
have, so we don't have 30 days. So it'll be July.
It had to be July.
July, maybe.
You do
Okay.
it before you meet.
No, you have to advertise the public hearing, and it's 30 days from the publication of the notice.
So we would back up 30 days from the July meeting date and post then. And that give us time to.
Or we can
Yeah,
post
it's-
it now for the
it has
July
to be a
meeting, because it's
public
already.
It's a
hearing.
minimum of 30 days.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, if we do a public hearing before we have this meeting, I think we can put it in the paper, get 30 days for we have our next 30-day meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom's right on there with us, so, okay, any further discussion? Looks like the first available time to do it and give 30 days would be July. Let's take this up. Any other discussion? Being none, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item I, Resolution 2024-11, amending the zoning resolution of Jefferson County, Tennessee regarding the new C3 zone, wholesale and warehouse commercial district, presented by Austin Brooks. Everyone received a copy of that in their packet.
So, this was on your agenda for last month, and if you'll remember, I think, the only thing of issue was, I have introduced a conditional use of, light industrial uses with minimal off-site noise, dust, or visual impacts. And there's a list there of items that would be allowed. And the discussion was on value-added processing and a definition. And I had forgotten that I had put a definition in there. It's item 6. Is a definition, in fact, it was, I asked for a couple different things to be added with the following definition: transitional screening, nuisance screening, plant materials, plant size, vegetative screens, value-added processing. So this was in there. 7, 8, and 9, I asked there's an intern that I've been working with about, do some research to see if there were better definitions. And these were three that he came up with.
Who was this you asked again?
An intern with the East Tennessee Development District. A change in the physical state or form of the product, such as milling wheat to flour, making strawberries into jam. The production of a product in a manner that enhances its value as demonstrated through a business plan. I don't get that. But I did just take it, copy and paste it in here. The physical segregation of an agricultural commodity or product in a manner that results in the enhancement of the value of the commodity or product, such as an identity-preserved marketing system. The other thing that he identified is that, I copied this, but he went and found value-added processing allowable in the state of North Carolina by enabling legislation. So this was in the legislature that you could do this in at least agricultural zone districts. Also, California, Frederick County, Maryland, and I copied this one. And I thought it was really good. Treatment that changes the form of a product grown on a farm in order to increase its market value with a minimum of 51% of the processed product being produced on the farm, which oddly enough, I had that 50% of the product had to come from that farm, but they could take produce from other farms. For purposes of this use, the term farm includes contiguous and non-contiguous parcels within the county in active agricultural production which are owned or leased by the processor. Agricultural value-added processing operations must be located on a parcel of land that is a minimum of 10 acres in size. Agricultural value-added processing does not include slaughterhouses. And I think that's something you need to have here. I understand this has been somewhat contentious in the past. And so, the folks I talked to, because I called Sullivan County and talked to them, that's a more urbanized that county. Also Wilson County, which is outside of Nashville. There's a number of counties that don't have zoning, but they do have wineries. And so they're growing their own grapes. But as you know, wine takes a whole lot of grapes. So they are allowed to take grapes from other farms to include in their processing for bottling wine.
What about Washington County?
I did not look in Washington County.
Because they're actually doing some of this stuff, not with wine. And then again, I go back probably 8 months, 9 months to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and University of Tennessee at Knoxville, which is land-grant university here to help with the pursuit of agriculture. It gives a clear definition of what value added is. And again, I read that 8 or 9 months ago. And I appreciate the North Carolina, but it says in context with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, Tennessee.gov is the website where this was found, and the University of Tennessee Extension, value-added agriculture refers to processes that transform raw agricultural products into more valuable finished products. It says this can involve processing, packaging, and marketing, increasing the consumer appeal and economic return for the farmer. Why are we putting those different parts of that definition in there when it doesn't include the farmer and the benefit of him and the economics for the farmer? That needs to be, I think you can take this if you're going to copy and paste and put it right there.
Well,
and I know there are similarities, but I think that's more stringent.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion since we're having the conversation about it.
So does that include slaughterhouses or exclude slaughterhouses?
It does neither. If you're wanting to exclude slaughterhouses, you could put that. I say it does neither. This would include any or all. But if you're wanting to exclude that line, you would have to do that. And again, if we look at allowing this in the C3, it's not going to take anything away from what the producer can do in A1 already. All that stands alone. This is just allowing it in a C3 if a person wants to use it to utilize this.
Is in your A1 zone district, is value-added processing allowed to take
You can do
produce from other farms?
Without having it in front of me, I would hate to comment.
I can tell you.
Thank you. I had it highlighted earlier today, but I've left that sheet at the office.
Let's see, A1.
Agricultural, forestry.
Now that's, yeah, A1.
The permitted uses, agricultural and similar activities, including general crop farming, livestock, poultry, horticulture, permission. It says, and the processing and/or sales of agricultural products raised, grown, or cultivated on the premise. So doing this allows you to broaden the scope of what can be done as far as
It does.
product.
And that was
But
what
it
John
do-
Neal was
Yeah,
after.
but it doesn't hinder what's already allowed in A1.
No.
That still rolls just like it's always been. This just gives you the opportunity to grow it a little bit.
The question I guess I had at this point, and I'm assuming we're just talking now, because I'm not expecting, you're
Yeah.
probably not gonna approve this tonight. But if it's not, what I think we need to do, first of all, is fix the A1, so that you're allowed to take, produce off other people's farms and process it on your farm. One that does two things. When you start processing, paying for equipment and all that, there's an economies of scale there. If you got 10 farms and you got 10 farmers doing the processing, that's probably a losing proposition. If you've got 10 farms and one farmer is doing the processing, but he's getting produce from the other 9 farms on his he gets an economies of scale, but it makes their property more marketable. It makes their product more sellable. It's a local sale, and you are keeping that production in Jeff County.
I agree entirely, and we can work on that and add that to the A1, if that's something the body would like to do.
I think the question at this point, after spending this much time, is should it be in C3?
Yeah, I just didn't want, I guess and we've talked about this for several months. If it's but if we don't want to exclude agriculture from C3 if somebody has an inroad there.
Yeah. The thing I had a problem with is you're forcing, okay, you're doing processing. Well, currently, it's forced into your industrial zone. But your industrial zone should be at your interstate exits, state routes. Obviously, you need a lot of utilities. Most processing does need a lot of water. Then you're looking at off-site impacts. And, if you're making jam, do you really want to be next to the other things you're allowing in your industrial zones? I wouldn't want to buy jam that's
In a C3.
or in
an
industrial.
A1, or
Industrial.
an A1 or C3.
Yeah, right now, to do this, you have to go into your industrial zone before you can process and take other people's product.
Right, so what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if anybody else got any input, please speak up, but we can enhance A1 to allow more of this. But we can also include a permitted use in C3, not to exclude agriculture if someone wants to go down that road.
Yeah.
In that zone. So you're opening another pathway up for it, not excluding, not hindering anything. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any comments on that? Now, I don't want to see anything done to hinder agriculture. Go ahead, Austin. I missed that, but
He said, we know Austin does.
I look at him first when I ask that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I agree on the agriculture things that were discussed. I would rather see A1 worked on as far as that's concerned. I want to go back to and I understand what you're saying about we can have it in both. I understand.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the intent of this resolution originally was to try and put a step between a C2 commercial and an I1 industrial. We've seen it happen countless times where what I think most of us would consider a small business comes in, they're wanting to do, this probably isn't correct, I'm going to use it as an example, a welding shop or something. And because of some practice or something that they're doing, they end up having to go into the I1 zone.
Right.
Well, a lot of us already own A1 property. I believe about 80% of the county land is A1. So then they're faced with the decision that they have to rezone a piece of their property to I1. Well, we've already seen we've seen this play out multiple times. It's, regardless of the outcome, it's not pretty to see neighbors fighting neighbors. Nobody wants to see that. So the intent of this was to address that problem, putting a step in where you could have, I wouldn't call it an industrial use, but something that they would have to go to industrial otherwise. This puts a step in to make the surrounding areas comfortable. So you live out on a piece of A1 property in the country. If you find out a piece of I1's going up, you're going to get nervous because that could mean a lot of different things. Hopefully the C3 would be more comfortable to surrounding property owners. When the agriculture element was introduced, I mean, as you and I personally know, we're both invested in agriculture. I'm very interested in that. To me, though, it makes more sense to work on the A1 zone so that the farmers aren't having to come to us for rezoning. And I think that would need to be done incrementally. So I'd like to hear more. You said Washington County has done a lot of this?
Washington County has done some.
Okay, I'd be interested to hear that. Do you have the resources to look into that for discussion at another meeting? And I did want to address something else that's in here. Under conditional uses, we have solar energy systems and wind energy systems as accessory uses. Does that mean they would only service that property? So they could not be used. It wouldn't be like a solar farm or anything like that. It would be, I have a big building, I'm going to put panels on it. And okay, all right.
You can generate some of your own electricity.
And I see that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lake.
Is there any way we can make it easier to get a slaughterhouse?
I think that's something that we need to have a conversation about. I think it's a definite need in our area.
If you're helping out the grape farmers and the produce farmers, then you ought to help out the beef producers.
Absolutely. Beef is the #1 agricultural industry in Jefferson County. That's fact. It's the #1. And we had a prime opportunity to have a facility in the county. And that's slipped through our hands. And being a beef producer and knowing a lot of folks that are hauling their animals over an hour one way to get it processed and then going back over an hour one way to pick it up, it affects what you're doing. So, Tommy, I think that's definitely something we need to talk about and look at. And the state is pouring a lot of money in right now into trying to get these put in place across the state. As you all remember, when COVID hit and the grocery store didn't have no hamburger, everybody was buying everything they could from our local producers. They could get them processed. But when you go to get a kill date for an animal,
I was out a year.
You're a year plus out. And one of our local facilities has closed down since then. So, you flood the market with those again. So, again, personal opinion, we missed a golden opportunity. It did, and this group has took a facility that actually sits in a subdivision. Now, you travel through a subdivision to access, and they're tickled to death they're there. There's no complaints. And you have to take the cattle trailer through the subdivision, through the end of the cul-de-sac to get in to where you get the beef processed. And Granger County is a comparison, but it was completely different than what was drawn up to be here. There was gonna be a retail beef market where you could walk in and get 5 pound of hamburger for the cookout Saturday. And that was all there in the blueprints, but no one wanted to see that. Yeah, it had been put out there by a vocal minority about the challenges that Southeastern Provisions had with some of those things, and it was a deterrent, but it was not truth. And it hurt the beef producers of Jefferson County. It hurt the agricultural sector. Again, I'm speaking my opinion.
If it's USDA graded and inspected,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any problem.
And that's what they were gonna have. If you were gonna sell your product, you could have had it USDA inspected, but if you want to process your
Exactly.
steer to bring back to the house and you didn't want it USDA inspected, it didn't have to be. It was
Yeah,
your
but
choice.
You couldn't resell it to the public.
No, you couldn't. You could, but you had the option of doing one or the other with,
Right.
with what they were doing.
Exactly.
But again, that's, and I know I've got on a little soapbox about that. Tommy, I think you bring up a good point. It's something we definitely need to discuss, in the future. With making that road to get that in the county a whole lot easier than what it's been thus far.
One thing that I have introduced here that it isn't currently in your zoning ordinance, you've got BZA approvals. Board of Zoning Appeals is a conditional approval. But there are no conditions. And actually, they don't call it that. You have to, it's what we were talking about earlier. The BZA determines if you match something that's already allowed. Conditional uses establishes a whole separate set of conditions for a use. So it's, like if you wanted to allow, slaughterhouses in areas other than industrial, which it specifically allows them in industrial.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the question Tommy was asking when he said, can we make this easier?
You can make it easier. The trick is, and this is what I've done here, but this is for limited to produce. It's not for slaughterhouses. Is what would the conditions be? One that you just mentioned, the slaughterhouse must have frontage on a state route and cannot travel through adjacent residential properties on residential streets. I mean, that's a really easy condition to determine compliance with.
One we had could check both those boxes.
Could check that
Oh,
box.
yeah, they would both check.
So it would be a lot like the subdivision where you're creating boxes that would allow it in other zone districts. And you would check those boxes, the Board of Zoning Appeals would. The trick here is to, what are the boxes you want checked? And if they all are complied with, then yes, you can have a slaughterhouse in other zone districts. That's something we can easily work on. Now, this is, again, just produce.
Right.
And slaughterhouses, obviously, you're going to have more, or totally different criteria. But it's easy to do.
Right.
And I assume that that's what they have done in other areas of the state. So that's something we could start looking, well, we probably ought to get through your C3.
Let's get
just
through
because it's been on here for about 5 or 6 months now. But at the succession of this, why don't we start thinking of what conditions we would like to put on the slaughterhouses and then determine what zone districts that would be best to allow them in.
I think it's very well stated, Ms. Baldwin. I agree entirely with you, and it's something we need to work on. So if we looked at moving forward with what we have in front of us tonight, and again, it was, I think the big holdup with this agricultural deal was permitted uses and conditional uses.
Well, John Neal didn't like the C3 because he liked the value-added processing. He wanted slaughterhouses in the C3. And so that's when we started looking more at value-added processing and a definition and a description. And if you'll remember, he would always bring up, making
I thought
salsa.
he wanted salsa.
He was talking about salsa, but then he was like, no, I want slaughterhouses.
Really? He told you that?
Yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah, and I was like, well, I mean, we could do that too, but this was the one that everyone seemed to agree with.
Okay, and again, if we move forward with this, and I just want clarity, and I think we've established that already, but to rehash it again, if we move forward with this, we're not limiting agriculture. We're actually broadening the scope of what it can be in with these uses. We can go back and adjust A1 to add this stuff to it. We can look at slaughterhouses and say, hey, do we allow that in this C3 with conditional usage on number of head, on where they get the, I mean, we can look at those things and say, well, we've got agriculture here in C3, we can put that here, it needs to stay in A1. We can determine that when we make those list of check boxes. But if we move forward with this, it just gives agriculture another slot it can be in. It's not a limit to it.
Now, I had a couple things I didn't like here. So look up at this, or look if you've got a copy of this in your package.
Mine's not highlighted like that.
It's just dark.
To do with color.
It's
I made the new one.
this is what it looks like on the top.
That's going to
Resolution
be
2024-11. That means we started it last year. But I did want to make sure you understood this. So the condition, you've got, in the C3, here are the allowable uses. Wholesale establishment with warehouses, distribution, and storage. Shops or special trade and general contractors. Machine shops, garden shops, automobile service stations, major or minor automobile and truck repair, with the exception of outdoor storage, office warehousing facilities. Those are all permitted by right uses. Does anybody want to see anything added to that?
That's the one that's not. This is the one cut off.
Outdoor storage was acceptable to that, so that kind of hinders, again, gas station or truck service. They got to have somewhere, most of them by insurance, they got to have somewhere to store outside and not mixed. You could put a lot size on it or a vehicle numbers.
I agree. I think that's more an Austin call. These were your original allowable uses.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll go back to, the intent was to create a zone where we had a place for these smaller businesses. They could come in and get, like I said, usually you're looking at A1 to something. So this was, the intent here was to create a zone where we didn't have to have neighbors, friends, families fall apart every time somebody wanted to open a garage or something. So that was the intent. So I do like a lot of the conditional uses, and yes, it is rather stringent, but again, the intent was to try and make a place for some of these businesses to go where otherwise they had to go into I-1, and then it just, a lot of times that, and in some cases that failed. They failed to get what they want, and that hurt a small business, and we're certainly in no place to be turning small businesses away. So I want to make sure we remember the intent.
To address this gentleman's concern, I added in definitions for screening requirements. Where is it? Definition. That would be nuisance screening. Which when, so I can add language Well, we consider it excluding storage. Right. Now, that was in the original draft that I started working with.
But I know you have a gas station. A lot of places, one of the driving the hall there, he's got a fence lot that he probably keeps 15 cars, 15, 20 trucks. Now, those cars are probably gone in a week or two. You know what I'm saying? But as they get cycled in and out. It's not that they're sitting there for months.
Yeah, it kind of depends on if you've got a, what is it, the vehicle that, if you've got a wrecker and you have to go get a car and bring it on site, a lot of times those cars may be in bad enough shape that the individual never comes to pay for it.
We cycle them out in 90 days.
And but 90 days is, if you don't have a maximum number, and I'll be honest, maximum numbers can't be administered. There's nobody in here that's gonna go out there and count 15 cars, or 15 cars for 90 days. So either you prohibit it, or you say you can have it, but you have to meet screening criteria, which is easy to do. We could say, with the exception of outdoor storage, which meets the screening criteria referenced in item H2.
So we could have it, so you're saying basically make it a conditional use?
You could either make it conditional or allowable, but I've added the nuisance screening requirements. They're at the very end under H, item H. If we'll flip over, item H, number 2, says nuisance screening. It actually states auto service function such as areas to store cars while they're being repaired. So auto or truck outdoor, garbage collection, and that is actually for all the uses, but we could state that specifically for outdoor storage, which is in compliance with nuisance screening criteria referenced in item H1. Would that address your concern, and that would allow you what you think?
I mean, not a lot. I've got mesh screening over, during the summer, the trees, they shoot us stuff there and you can't see it.
Yeah, understand.
Eddie, I'm gonna recognize you.
This is awesome. I know this is your baby, and I'm all about it, but, it's gotta have sewer and water. It's gonna put it back in town.
It's a condition.
That was my next thing, was to take out the requirement for sewer.
That's gonna bring it. There's no sewer out there. That was the only thing that I said.
That's under the conditional uses, item 2. I think it should have public water, because I think it should have a fire hydrant in the event of a fire.
It's gotta have fire hydrant and test tube on it. I don't know how you get a well.
But I do recommend we take out, all conditional uses must have access to public water, and strike public sewer.
Strike sewer, leave public water. You want to draw that up?
That's why I'm doing this right here. Access to public water sources. Okay,
Yep. All conditional use,
sorry.
all conditional uses must have access to public water sources. Okay, Austin, are you at peace with that change?
I'm not at peace with anything ever, Mr. Chairman.
Can you live with it?
I could probably live with that. And I do realize that once you throw sewer in, you're not really you're not in the county anymore. You're in one of the cities.
Let me point something out, though. These are conditions, so the conditional uses are light industrial uses with minimal off-site noise and visual impacts, and this includes A, B, C, and D. these are permitted uses. So there are no criteria for them. But I was going to add at the end of outdoor storage, with the exception of outdoor well, I have to reword that. Truck repair, all accessory outdoor storage shall meet nuisance requirements referenced in item H2.
Okay, that's what we just
Oh,
talked
'cause
about
that-
before the survey.
That's what we were talking about. But this is a permitted use, so they will be able to bring that in, and on their site plan would be show where they're
Right.
meeting this, okay?
Let her get that time too. We may be getting to do something monumental.
Yeah. So you'll have to help me with this later. Oh, I'm horrible at formatting. Okay, major or minor automobile and truck repair, which shall comply with outdoor storage screen to comply, outdoor storage.
Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate to maybe ask Ms. Baldwin to come back next month with checking a few boxes?
And I'll be glad to bring it back. I just want to get the language correct while you guys are watching,
It's your proposed resolution. So if you would like to do that, that's,
I would like, if anybody on this body has any proposed changes, that we give those to Ms. Baldwin now. And under other business, I want to talk about something, but that she makes those changes, gets that back to us with ample time, because it is a cumbersome
to
document.
have it included in our packet.
Well, maybe even earlier, if we just get it emailed, yeah,
Get it, well, if she gets it to Stephanie can email it out to all of us.
yeah. Just like first thing tomorrow morning.
So are you stating that in form of a motion?
With that, Mr. Well, is there anything else to add?
That's, everybody else had it. Mark?
But you're gonna take the number 5 out of prohibited uses. You're gonna cut slaughterhouses and custom slaughterhouses and put it in conditional.
Well, that's a question. Do you, since it is the C3, if this is a new district, that's your call. That's the planning commission's pleasure.
If it,
And it would fall under, if we
But we
decided
could
to
make
do
it
that,
conditional.
Could make it conditional and then work on those conditions.
Yeah, we can add,
That would actually go
all we
on
have
with
to-
what Tommy wants to
Yeah.
do.
so we would add an item E. There we go.
Item E would go to conditional.
And that would fall under conditional. And then it must have access to public water, meet transition and nuisance screening, no offensive noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odors, shall not generate excessive vehicular traffic, processing operations shall not generate hazardous or acceptable waste unless a plan for off-site management of waste is approved.
Who would approve?
That's, I mean, that's what you, that's going right down
Tom.
that path.
Did you get all that?
Yeah.
So. that
That's
would-
not
that
on
would- that
sewer,
would
but-
Be moved within that one, so. I don't know many
Who
slaughterhouses
would
that are.
license a
on sewer.
slaughterhouse?
The state would have the authority, and that'd be through, well, Department of Agriculture would be involved, but I don't know if they would have the licensing authority for that. But they would walk hand in hand through that process. Not that I'm looking at building one, but I know there's, Washington County that's something else you can look at that's going up there.
How about say-
Changes to agricultural.
Yeah, you can do 15 or 25.
If it's going to be a conditional use, would Washington County be a resource to look at for conditions, or is it?
Yeah, but I think so. I think so. And that's just been in the news heavy the last 6 weeks about the one they've got going in.
And again, my concern is just that I don't want to put anything in there that would, I just don't want it to turn into another I-1 situation where every time
Absolutely.
it comes up, it turns into a big thing, you know?
Well, and if we've got those conditional uses and requirements.
The protections,
those-
yeah.
The protections of those in place, it could actually be a resource and not a.
Okay, well, with that said, I will move that we roll this to the next meeting
Okay, we have a
with-
proper motion.
with
Second.
the, all right,
With Ms. Baldwin's.
Get that information.
just fix it, Catherine, will you?
Okay, any further discussion about this? All those in favor of rolling at the next meeting, let me know by saying aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Roll to the next meeting. I've got an agenda somewhere in here. J, aren't you all glad I done K at start? Shorten the list. Let me read real quick what it is. Amended Resolution 2025-14, amending the zoning resolutions of Jefferson County, Tennessee to reflect certain prohibited uses and permitted uses in the A1, R1, R2, RR, and C2 districts. And Mr. Brooks would like to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you all recall, back in January, we unanimously approved a resolution. The intent was to take campgrounds out of the A1 zone, and that resolution went from this body to the cities with some, there were some recommendations, back to the county commission. In county commission during the April meeting, it was amended. If you all recall, Mr. Renault, who used to sit on this body, I believe he had a hand in kind of reviewing this. Of course, he also works with the town of Dandridge, and I believe the town of White Pine also had some input. So anyway, this amended version addressed some concerns the cities had, and I think I would consider it all an improvement, and it did receive a favorable vote from county commission. So it will come before this body, and then it goes to all the cities and comes back to county commission. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item J.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on item J?
I think it was more of a formality to send it back to the.
Yeah.
Right. In its previous form, it was turned down by all the cities.
No.
Not all, but how many?
They recommended
White
a
Pine
few of
approved it,
them.
but with a change.
With a change. There was contingencies on approval. How many turned it down?
Well, Jefferson City, Dandridge.
Jefferson City and Dandridge turned it down. White Pine approved.
Made
With a
recommendations.
change.
And just to clarify, the only thing that we in the cities or the towns can do is make recommendations. It is ultimately up to the county commission,
Absolutely.
but nonetheless, I move that we approve this. Got a second?
Oh, yeah, we're in discussion now.
Oh, okay.
That's why I brought that up. I was
Okay.
just making sure the history of everything
Yeah,
in this previous form, but this is the revised form on the recommendation of the cities to.
yeah, I feel it's improved.
Happy so that we can move forward with it.
Just make Katie happy.
Is there any other questions, concern?
I'll get those on the city's agendas
Okay.
next available.
Thank you.
Well, Bob, do you have?
I want to make an observation,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that we're very fortunate to have the knowledge, the expertise, and advice of Catherine Baldwin, because without her comments and advice, we'd be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. But I've learned a lot from her, And I want to thank her for all the contributions she made to
Absolutely.
us.
And I do appreciate that, and I also say that is why we pay her.
It's a job.
Yeah, she's doing her job for us, and we appreciate that. So, and we thank you. I'm not making light of it at all. And the previous ones have done very well with what they've been tasked to do as well. Some different insight now, but we're moving along, and good comment, Bob. Any further discussion about the motion in the second? Being none, all those in favor of approving J, the amended resolution, and sending it back to the cities
In the county commission, yeah.
and the county commission, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Hold on, Steve.
Passes. And we're gonna.
I've got something for other business.
We're gonna move from other business, and I'm joking. Other business.
Mr. Chairman, as we discussed earlier in the meeting about the notes, is there anything that can be done as far as getting those notes out earlier? The turnaround time?
Like, I got my agenda on May 21st. It is May 27th. And I've had a weekend and a holiday in between, and I got them out now.
Yeah.
I got mine like on the 16th or 17th. Or something.
And it may or may not make any difference. So y'all know how I have another job.
So you're moonlighting on us?
You're my moonlight. So I work for a design firm, and you know it's a pretty good sized job in and of itself. So I do that, and I have 3 planning commission meetings the first week of the month. I have 1 the second week of the month, and then I have 2 the last week of the month. So my schedule is I do things in preparation for the meetings as they come. Like by the end of this week, I have to have 3 agenda packages out, and it's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And I have to go to my development office, my design office. So
We're early though.
usually I can get to you guys. I mean, I worked on this Sunday. I worked on it Sunday and Monday. And I also have a house guest at my house. I try to get these out as quickly as I possibly can. One, it depends on the complexity of the issues, how much I have to look at, the number of items submitted. I get it out as soon as possible. I also think that, you know, in all fairness to me, is that you've got regulations that are on your website. It's got checklists in there. All the information's in there. We haven't added anything. We're just now getting to holding a public hearing for an amendment to your subregs that was started 6, 7, 8 months ago. So I haven't changed your subregs. I haven't touched them. I'm just regurgitating what you've adopted and had on the books. And the date of your subdivision regulations is April 12, 2004. There is a check sheet in here that's at the final plat check sheet. That's pretty all-encompassing. You have Article 2, again, stipulates everything that's supposed to go on a plat. I mean, I'm not doing anything except checking boxes, and the boxes are even in 2 places in your subregs.
Right. So with that being said, get back to the question I've had, and I'm not trying to cut you off at all. I'm just trying to get clarity on this. If Stephanie were able to email these to you for you to glance over, could you get her an email back of that list, and then she could in turn get that email to the folks and maybe give them a week's time? And it's not the day of.
did I email Kim? That's right, that's right.
Yeah, so that's something that's, okay. So that's a little something that's doable then. Alton, you want to add?
So I agree with what you're saying. I do think, because things were done a certain way, which I don't think anyone here at this table was a part of that, we are in somewhat of a transitional period as we're trying to get cleaned up. So whenever the agenda gets sent to the paper, could you just send it on to Catherine? Or are you still waiting for supporting documents?
I'm usually still waiting for some supporting documents.
Okay.
I
Okay.
usually don't send it to her till I have the supporting.
And this topic came up once before, and I think Tim was here, and he was going to send out an email saying that we were expecting compliance with this. Sorry.
I mean, it's simple in and of itself, but again, you're breaking precedents with what's been established, and everything was under the two people that sat in your chair for years. Who was getting paid just like you are to do everything we've done. So what we did come upon their advice. You know, it's there, and I often sum that up. We're in a transition period from that, and you can send that email out and say, hey, be sure if you're doing this, check these subregs. It may take care of some of this, but still get it to me. We'll get it turned into our planner, and we'll get it back to you.
And the other issue is, I think it says 10 days ahead of time, it's the deadline for submittal. Do you always get stuff? And if stuff comes in after 10 days, do you take it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we do if they're waiting on somebody to get it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends
Well,
on when they come in.
You know, and beyond that, my comments are just to you guys. If you want to throw them out or not observe them, I'm here, I give my opinion, and you can do with that opinion what you
I
want
think
to.
as you handle these and you slowly start cleaning up, you'll have fewer and fewer.
Won't be
as
a
you
problem
move
for much
forward.
longer, I don't
It's not gonna be the same issue 2 years from now. But in this, we hope it's not.
I would hope
and,
not.
I would say if, Eddie, where all do you work? You work in Knox County? I know.
Yeah.
So I know that these are regulations he meets everywhere else.
I mean, they're different everywhere we go.
They are, but if you do work in Knox County, I submit projects to Knox County. I work in Farragut. And if you can meet Farragut's schedule and you comply with their regulations, this should be a walk in the park for you.
Not really.
Yeah. Yes, I don't think it's been a walk in the park for any of us.
Well,
Up to this point.
but I work in a firm that
Once we
work.
know what you're after, I mean, we've been doing it a certain way, and like you said, may not be right, but we don't go get the road superintendent to sign off on a road that's been there 30 years. We don't, you know, that was the point I was making.
Understand.
And another thing is, once we figure out how you want it, we're not gonna have this problem. We're gonna bring it to you. That's what I'm trying to do to start with. I don't like these contingent upon this or that. I wanna bring it in here and have Sue to sign it tonight. I wanna have it in order. That's what we're all about. If you don't have time, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I didn't say I didn't have time. I said
That's what
that
you told me a while ago.
I have a very set
We all do.
schedule.
We all do.
Well, once again, the check sheet is there's an appendix, has the check sheet, appendix
I've
2.
never used that.
I'm sorry for
I
you.
know, I
It's in
understand.
here.
But we all have
And
to use
the other section is the final plat requirements. That's in Article 2, Section C.
I know exactly where it's at, but we've never used it.
I
would've brought it
think
to you.
that this is the same conversation we've been having.
We-
We're cleaning that up, and I think Mr. Garrett, along with others, once he knows what's expected,
Just a transitional.
it's gonna be here, and.
And I thought Tim was going to send out an email saying, we've transitioned.
Yeah, and that's something we can work toward.
You don't think you did it? All right, well.
What we did in the past with other planners, and I don't know, this probably is not gonna fit into your schedule, but what we would do when we would submit it, I would wait 3 or 4 days after I knew the planner had it, had been sent to him. I'd call David on the phone. Hey, on these 3 or 4 that I got, what's your problems right here? I'm gonna work this out. I want mine ready to go before we get here. I don't wanna sit here and argue with you
My
till 10
email on the
o'clock at
website?
night.
On my website?
Yeah,
No.
you can email me.
No, I've talked to you before, I think we did on an
Yeah, you got my email. And if you've worked in Claiborne County at all, you've got all my info, and their subregs are pretty well identical.
So, and you're at peace with Stephanie putting your email out there on our
Yeah, I
website?
don't care.
Yeah, we can get that out there and say this is another way to contact, so.
And we
it's-
have
it's
the
good conversation
checklist
here to
on
make
our
it better.
website, right?
If you could
The
send them to me, or
checklist
if I'll
and everything's on the
get in touch with
website.
you way before we get here, I want all my,
It's a subdivision.
we can't be doing all this day of, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Particular,
Hey, I think it's there, but we keep just,
I got
We
you.
haven't been using it.
it's the change that's not been done.
I understand, I
You know,
understand.
it's not been done, I think that's what we keep rehashing here. And the people who have sat in your position have been at peace with it being the way it's been. We've done things under their recommendation.
I understand.
So we're getting a different recommendation. But at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a second.